Colored pens up. Today's warm-up for lesson 2.5 is a review of the last few ideas. But today's warm-up also serves another purpose. It will lead us into today's lesson. Very important that you understand how all of these questions work so that you can be successful with today's lesson. So let's start with the first three. Number one, what did you get? Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 confident people. We'll start with Michaela, Isabella, Caesar. Okay?
W minus 2.
All three of you agree? It is W minus 2, and I'm very impressed that they all said W minus 2 rather than W plus negative 2. Which is what I think some of us probably have down. But we'll get back to that in a few minutes. What about number 2? Start with Rashida, Michael, Kivan.
Negative 10 plus C.
Negative 10 plus C.
Okay?
10 plus C.
You all have the same thing. It is Z minus 10, or negative 10 plus Z is the same thing. As long as the Z is positive and the 10 is negative, that's the same thing. So just to clarify, this is a positive Z. If we bubble it up, you can clearly see that the Z is positive and the 10 is negative. And if we wanted to, we could move this term over here and it would not change what it means. Comments, questions about that? All right, number 3, what did we get? Start with Valerie, Garion, and then Yadesh.
M plus 3.
Okay?
M plus 3.
Okay. I'm sorry?
M plus 3.
Okay, the correct answer is M minus 83.
Ew.
Oh,
Wow. You got to add. I can't change that. I can't.
So we'll get back to number 3 in a couple of minutes because that's going to be important for later on. But let's get the rest of these. 4 through 6 were all similar. Let's start with number 4, Briante, and then we'll go to Danae. Give me just the equation, Briante. Okay, what'd you put? Okay, well, what I was looking for was n plus 6 equals 5 is the equation I was looking for, and that was based on what I taught in the last lesson, that's what you should have written. And then I asked you to solve the equation. What does it come out to? Ezekiel and then Chanel. What'd you get?
I got negative.
It comes out to -1, and I actually have a typo here. It is supposed to be -1. I accidentally put +1. So we'll get to how that was done in a few minutes. Let's get the other 2. Number 5, what do we get? We'll start with Ezekiel this time, and then we'll go back to Chanel and then Joelle.
I got n divided by negative 2.
Okay, what was your equation, Chanel?
N divided by -2.
Okay, did you use the division symbol, the little line with the dots, or did you use a fraction bar? Okay, what did you use? Okay, Joelle, what was your equation? So we all had the same equation. This is how an advanced student would write it. And since you are one of my advanced students, then you need to learn how to write it like that. If you use the division symbol, the traditional division symbol, it does not make you a bad person, and it still means division, but we don't use it very much anymore. You will see it occasionally. But from now on, try to get in the habit of writing division with a fraction bar. Now, when you solve that equation, what do you get? 6 people were able to do it. Yadesh and then Michael. We have a big disagreement, Chris. We got a massive disagreement. 3 different answers. What do you say, Selena? And what did you say?
84.
Positive 84. It is positive 84. Number 6 was an especially difficult one. In fact, I haven't given you any that look like this, so I'll be very curious to see who was able to put it together. We'll start with Rashida, Alex, and then Caesar.
3n minus 4 equals 17.
Okay, what was your equation?
3n minus 4 equals 17.
Okay, so that was the same thing, I think. Who else?
3n minus 4 equals 17.
So, pretty impressive. 3n minus 4 equals 17. Now the hard part, what do you get when you solve that? Oh, we got a lot of confident people. What do you say, Jedli?
4.33.
Okay, Gloria?
7.
Okay, so we disagree. What do you think, Kivan?
7.
The correct answer is 7. So, first of all, there were 6 questions. So make a fraction out of 6. Hopefully you got 4 out of 6 or better. Really, you should get 5 out of 6 or 6 out of 6. And that would be a 67%, which is not great, not terrible. And now I want to talk about questions 1 through 3, and I want to talk about number 3. So I want to rewrite it because I want to be able to do something with it. It was m minus 40 minus 43. So give me a moment. Here is the detail that a lot of you are still not internalizing. You are a very high level student, so you have to be able to understand what I'm about to demonstrate. This says m minus 40 minus 43. Let me add one thing. What is the sign on the m? What's the sign on that, Danae? It is positive. So in your head, you're supposed to know that that's positive m. So now, watch. I can put this here, and I can put that there, and I can put that there. I can move this over here. I can move this here. I can put this in any order that I would like. Because even though this says minus, as an advanced young person, I know what's really happening is this is a negative 40 plus a negative 43 plus n. What's another way to see that? Well, I taught you the bubble method. So, if we put a circle around the number and the sign that comes right before it, you can clearly see the signs of each of the terms. And so you should be able to instantly recognize that that's negative 40, and that's negative 43, and that we are adding them together. When you bubble something up, this is in your brain. You don't have to write it in, but you're supposed to know it in your head. If you don't, that's a big problem. Everything is being added. So that really means negative 40 plus negative 43 plus n. So that is why we get m minus 83, because negative 40 and negative 43 is negative 83. Are there comments, questions on how this works. This directly impacts today. Are there comments or questions? So here's something that came up earlier. A student, this morning we were doing this lesson and a student said, well, I got confused because a negative and a negative is supposed to be positive, right? But that's the conversation we had several times already about the football rules and the basketball rules. You can't take basketball rules and apply it to football. You can't take football rules and apply it to basketball. And that's what's going on here is that student and quite a few other of my students are trying to apply rules that are for a different sport. The rule that student was talking about was the rules for multiplication and division. This is addition. So there's a big difference. Are there any other questions or comments about this? Okay, are there any comments or questions about any of the other ones? Okay, give me a thumbs up if you got a 67% or higher. Good, put your thumbs down. No more questions? Okay, put this warm up to the side for a moment. Today, we're going to start the process of learning how to solve equations. What you're going to be working on uses all of the knowledge and skills that you have learned so far this year. So, I am now moving forward, expecting, and it's difficult, but I am expecting that at this point, you are level 8 or 9. You are a Jedi or a Jedi Master of all of the concepts we've studied so far. Because we're going to be working on higher level material, and you cannot get tripped up by those other concepts. Now, I'm going to give you a sequence of steps, some guidelines for solving equations that involve addition and subtraction. Before I begin, I want to talk to you a little bit about my philosophy and what I'm doing with it. And I've used this analogy before. I like using the analogy of riding a bicycle because I think it's pretty tangible and applicable to everybody. So I'm going to use it again. So let's do a quick little survey. Give me a thumbs up if right now you know how to ride a bicycle. Okay? Put your thumbs down. So, that was a lot of us. Now, give me a thumbs up if you remember how old you were when you rode the bicycle without training wheels for the first time. Okay? Alex, how old are you?
6 years old.
Okay. I'm talking about a 100% honesty, so 6 years old. 6, 5, 4, 7, 5, 10.
Sound like me. I'm sorry.
4, 6, 5. Okay. So, but guys, you guys are bright, so I'm treating you like bright young people. I want you to think as I'm talking about this. If I said, and I wish we could, and we can't, but if I said right now that we were all going to go outside, and I had a fleet of bicycles, and we were going to all go for a bike ride, almost all of you would be able to get on the bicycle, and we would be able to leave right away. No one would have to get lessons on how to do it. We would just get up and go. But here's the thing. Would it matter when each of the people had the training wheels taken off? We would all be able to go ride a bike right now. He got his training wheels off when he was, what'd you say, 4? 5? And someone said when they were 4. Someone said when they were 7. Someone said when they were 6. So they all got their training wheels taken off at different times, but as of now, they can all ride bicycles. So I want you to think about that, because I am using the training wheels technique. I am teaching you using training wheels that you eventually are supposed to take off. It doesn't matter if you take the training wheels off tomorrow, and you take them off 3 days from now, and you take them off 2 weeks from now, and you take them off in an hour. It doesn't matter when you take the training wheels off. But one way or another, a year from now, when you're in Algebra 1 Honors, you should be able to do what we're studying today without training wheels. That's the point. There are a few people in the room right now who, after I show you what we're doing, you're not going to need the training wheels at all because you already learned last year what you were supposed to do. If that's you, that's fine. But I am going to point out something first. So here are the sequence of steps, and I'm going to talk about them in a moment. But before I do, I want to show you something. I want to show you these two equations. Do not copy anything. I want you to look up here. I have an equation on the left, and I have this equation on the right. Give me a thumbs up. Look at them first, and then give me a thumbs up if you can solve either of those mentally. Okay, put your thumbs down. Ezekiel, which one can you solve mentally?
Probably both.
You can solve this one mentally?
If I try.
Okay. After class, I'll talk to you about moving you into Algebra 1 Honors. But for right now, let's just assume that the obvious, which everyone knows, is that there's absolutely no way you could solve the one on the right mentally, and you could possibly solve the one on the left mentally. So what's the answer to the one on the left? You better get it right after you just made that boastful remark.
-2.
Unfortunately, that is incorrect. So Chanel. Okay, so Ezekiel, it is -6. So you can solve this mentally, but here's my second point. I talked about the training wheels, but here's the second point. I said you can take the training wheels off when you're ready. But what does it mean to be ready? To be ready, you have to be able to solve that one on the right. So today, you're going to see some easy equations. Chanel can solve that one mentally. So does Chanel need to follow 6 steps to solve that equation? No. But if Chanel does not learn the steps, she will not be able to solve this equation. So we are going to use the steps to solve this anyway, so that we learn the steps to apply to here. That's a major point. So, the steps. First, we're going to draw a T. You'll understand what I mean in a couple of minutes. The second, find the side of the equation with the variable. So all I'm trying to have you do is focus somewhere. A lot of my steps are to help you focus in the right spot. After we find the side with the variable, we're going to bubble the side with the variable. After we bubble it, we're going to find the bubble with the number. So in actuality, steps 2, 3, and 4, you're going to do all kind of together once you understand what we're doing. So even though I wrote them as 3 separate steps, it's really just one thing. Then, step 5 is really the major action that's going to happen. Number 5 is the key. This is the key. We're going to make what's called an inverse bubble underneath each side of the equation. It's going to be an inverse bubble to cancel out the bubble we were looking at in number 4. What do I mean by inverse? An inverse bubble is just a circle with a number in it. The number will be the same number, but the opposite sign. And then from there, we're going to add down. So now I want to talk about adding down before we apply all of this to an equation. When you were in elementary school, you learned something like this. 101. Actually, I want to do that a little differently. 101 plus 28. You learned to add like this. And I want you to try to reflect on how it actually works. Right now, you instinctively know, okay, 1 plus 8 is 9, 0 plus 2 is 2, 1 plus nothing is 1. But I want you to think about it. This is actually set up in columns. You are basically adding that column, then you are adding this column, and you are adding this column. You can't add the 1 to the 2, can you?
No.
You can't add the 0 to the 8. You have to go straight down the column, correct? So, that's going to apply today, that you have to work in columns. So, we're going to do 2 questions at the same time to begin with. So, I do not want you to recopy this. I have it here because I had it on the other page and I needed it here to refer to. I want you to write this equation, leave a bunch of space, put a line, and then put this equation and leave some space. We're going to do 2 questions simultaneously. Does anyone know what simultaneously means? Simultaneously, Gary?
At the same time.
At the same time. Very good. We're going to do 2 questions simultaneously. The goal is for you to understand the steps. So, this will be referred to as the left equation. This will be referred to as the right equation. So first we're going to draw a T. What that means is we put a horizontal line underneath the entire equation. And then we put a vertical line through the equal sign straight down. Now, this is one of my training wheels, but I'm going to tell you that I, as the Algebra 1 Honors and Pre-Algebra teacher, I still do it. And if I were to take out my notes for all my algebra lessons and pre-algebra lessons, you would see me drawing T's over all the equations. Because it's a very effective way to stay organized. So we're going to draw a T here. The vertical line always goes through the equal sign. Always. You cannot put it anywhere you want. It must go through the equal sign. And what that does is it divides the equation into 2 sides. You've got the left and the right. And so now I can say, look at the left side, look at the right side, and now you know where to look. So now, number 2, find the side of the equation with the variable. So in this equation, where's the variable? Left or the right? Someone raise their hand and tell us. Left or the right? Michaela? Left. So I'm going to highlight the left. You don't have to highlight it, but that's where you should be looking. What about this equation over here? Where's the variable? Sebastian? It's on the right. So for this equation, you should be looking over here. Step 3, bubble the side with the variable. So now we're going to bubble this up. So we're going to bubble, bubble. This is to help us to see the signs of all the terms. Bubble, bubble. Step 4, find the bubble with the number. So let's look at this equation. Which bubble has the number? Danae?
Wait, plus 20, 29.
Good. But I like that you said the plus 29. That's actually an important part. The positive 29. What about this equation over here? What's the number with the bubble? Briante? Very good. So now, when I say find the bubble, I am saying now you should be looking here. And now you should be looking here. That's the whole point of my first 4 steps, is to make you focus right there. So when you get used to doing this, that means you can skip steps 2, 3, and 4. So now that we're looking in the right place, we're going to create what's called an inverse bubble, which means we're going to put a bubble here and a bubble underneath the other side, and the bubble's going to be the inverse of the number that I'm looking at. So what's the inverse of plus 29, Isabella? Minus 29 or negative 29, it's the same thing. Same thing over here. Inverse bubbles. What's the inverse of the number we're focusing on? Gloria? Positive 16. Very good. And so we do it on both sides. And now, like in elementary school, just like we were taught, we draw a line and then we add down. But we add down in columns, just like I illustrated before. So we're adding down. Adding down. So this is a column. X plus nothing is X. 29 minus 29 is 0. Equals comes down. 128 minus 29. What do we get there? 128 minus 29. Chanel?
99.
We get 99. For this one, we get 95 plus 16. What do we get, Michael? We get 111. Equals comes down. Y plus nothing is Y. Negative 16 plus 16 is 0. What we usually do as advanced students is instead of adding these together and saying 0, is we just say they cancel out and they cancel out. And we don't write the 0, we don't write the 0. And so here we get X equals 99, and here we get Y equals 111. Does anyone have any questions on the different steps and the purposes?
So the person put X plus 0. So, between the variable and the number, do you always add?
Do we always add, meaning going down? We're basically, I'm saying add down, but we're working down. So this says 128 minus 29. So that's what I did. 128 minus 29 is 99. X plus nothing. Or here, X plus 0. What about it?
Do you always add?
Oh, you mean whatever the result is here? Technically, yeah, but again, we're not going to write this. It's just going to disappear. If you're still not sure after a few more examples, then ask again. Gloria? Okay, so now let's do some formal examples and let's get some checkpoints in to see if we're starting to understand. Give me a thumbs up if mentally you think you already know the answer to part A. Okay, if you think you know the answer, I want you to write it really light off to the side of your paper, somewhere over here. Just nice and light and small off to the side. We'll see if you get it right after we do it. So now, step 1, we draw our T. Remember that the vertical line must go through the equal sign. The next 3 steps are all about finding your focus. So the first thing I ask you to do is find the side with the variable. Which side has the variable, the left or the right? Left or the right? Ezekiel?
Right.
The right side has the variable, so that's where I'm looking right now. Right here. What do I do next? We bubble it up. So we bubble this up, again, to help us focus. And And finally, step 4, what should I be looking at now? Yudesh? Well, that's step 5. In step 4, I'm still trying to focus on something, so where should I be focused? Well, what does step 4 say?
Find the bubble with the number.
Good. So what's the bubble with the number?
Bubble 14.
Good. That's where we're focused. That helps us know what to do next. So now Yudesh was right. Now we're going to do the inverse bubble. And the inverse bubble goes directly below that. But then you also put the same one on the other side. What's going to go inside the bubbles? Yvonne? Minus 14. Now we're going to draw our line just like we were taught in elementary school. And we're going to work down in columns. Negative 20 minus 14. What do we get when we do that? Rashida? Oh, you got it right on the first shot. Had a lot of problems with this in other groups. That's negative 34. The equal sign comes down. The y plus nothing is the y. And we learned that positive 14 and negative 14 cancels each other out. So the correct answer is y equals negative 34. Does anyone have any questions on how we did that? Part B is here for a special reason, but before I do that, does anyone have any questions on Part A? Okay, give me a thumbs up if you think you know the answer to Part B. Good, Chris, what is the answer? 5. Yeah, the answer is 5. That's super easy. Nobody should have any difficulty with that. So we know the answer is 5. So why do I have to do 6 steps to get it if I already know the answer? Well, I already explained that this is not here because I want to know the answer. This is here because I want you to demonstrate and learn the process. So we are going to do the process anyway. The good news is we already know what the answer is supposed to be, and it should go a little bit faster. We draw our T, and which side should I be looking at, Joali, the left or the right? I should be looking at the left. And now I'm going to bubble up the left. And after I bubble up, what should I look at next? Gary? The positive 4. So that's the whole point of steps 2 through 4, is to get me to look right there. And then I take action. I do inverse bubbles. What's going to go inside the inverse bubble? Mia? Very good. Negative 4 or minus 4. Now I do my elementary school line, and I work down. X and nothing is X. These two cancel out, and then 9 minus 4 is 5. And so we already knew the answer was going to be 5, but now we see the process that led us to that. Any questions? Okay. Part C. So we're going to follow the steps again. Draw our T. Find the side with the variable. Am I looking at the left or the right? Michael? Left. Bubble up the left. So I'm going to bubble up this, but you should notice something different. Instead of there being 2 terms to bubble up, there's 3. And then step 4 says, find the bubble with the number. So which is the bubble with the number? 1, 2, 3, 4, we've got a bunch of people who may know. Alex? Both of them. Okay, what do you mean?
Like, it's 124 and
Okay? But it says, look at the bubble, find the bubble with the number. So it doesn't say the numbers, it says the number. So I need the number. What's the number? Isabella?
212.
I don't see a 212 anywhere. Very intelligently you did. Yeah, so if we have two numbers, we don't have one number to focus on, but we cannot proceed until we have one number to focus on. And this is why today's warm-up was so important. These are like terms. You have to add them together. So now we're going to rewrite the equation. We're going to rewrite it with this simplified. So it's really k plus 212 equals negative 300. And now we can proceed. That's a k. That's a positive 212. And now we can do our inverse bubbles. Inverse bubble, inverse bubble. What's going to go in the bubble? Gary? Negative or minus 212. Minus 212. Elementary school line. Now this is no longer the equation we're working with. Now we're working from here down. K and nothing is k. These cancel out. Equals negative 300 minus 212. What do we get as a result of that? Yadesh? Unfortunately, you do not get negative 88. Joali? Negative 512. So we get k equals negative 512. Comments or questions on how that was done? So part C had an additional step. You had to combine like terms, then you solve the equation. Any comments or questions on anything? Let's see how you do on your own. Checkpoint number 1. You got 2 equations, you got 2 minutes. So you have to do steps. Okay, but you totally clearly didn't hear what I was saying, which was, I don't care if you can do it next time. How about this? I'll only grade you on the work. I'm not even going to look at the answer. What would you do then? All right, colored pens up. Let's see how we did. Part A, what did we get? Start with Ezekiel, Chanel, and then Briante.
K equals -6.
Okay?
K equals -20.
Okay?
K equals -20.
Okay, so we have a slight disagreement. Correct answer is K equals -20.
Oh.
What about part B? What do we get? We'll start with Isabella, Mia, and then Caesar.
80 equals C.
Okay?
C equals
C equals
Correct answer is C equals 80 or 80 equals C. Either way is the same thing. So I was a little disappointed as I walked around. I saw a number of you who finished in 30 seconds because you did it mentally. But that clearly means you missed. I mean, I spent a fair amount of time discussing the fact that we're not doing it mentally because we need to learn the process. So think of it this way. Let's pretend that I don't care about the answers. All the answers do confirm that we did something right. But when I look at your homework, when you bring it in tomorrow, I'm not going to be looking at whether your answers are right or wrong. I'm going to be looking whether or not you have a T drawn and whether or not you have this right here and this right here and this and this. That's what I'm going to be looking for. If I don't see that, I'm not giving you credit. It is that important. Because some of you missed the point. Here was the point. When you next year are asked to do this question right here, you can't do it mentally. And then what are you going to do? You're going to come up with some new magical method to use? No. You use the methods that you were taught. But if you never practice the methods, then you won't know what to do. So, you are not ready to drop the training wheels until you can do this mentally. If you can't do that mentally, then you're not ready to drop the training wheels. So, questions on checkpoint number 1. Okay, example 2. So, there's really nothing different here. There's one major difference between these two equations and all the ones we've done so far. But you'll see in a moment what that major difference is. The process is still the same. Which side of the equation should I be looking at this point? Where should I be looking? Michael? The left. And so we're going to bubble up, and here's why the bubbles are so important. Because of that right there. So now I'm ready to do the action, which is to do the inverse bubbles underneath. And what's going to go inside my inverse bubble? Rashida? Plus 8. Plus 8, because that's the inverse of that. And so now, elementary school line, add down in columns. Z and nothing is Z. That cancels out, equals 12 plus 8 is 20. Now, you all knew the answer was 20 because you could do that question mentally, but that wasn't the point. So what was the major difference? The major difference is these two questions are subtraction equations, and the rest were addition. To solve them, the inverse was positive, whereas all the other questions, the inverse was negative, the inverse was negative, the inverse was negative. So the only difference is what goes inside the inverse bubble. Does anyone have any questions on that? Okay, I don't think we need to do part B because I think it's the same process, but I just want to make sure. So let's do a checkpoint number 2, and then I'm going to survey and see how we're doing. Checkpoint number 2, you got 2 equations, 2 minutes, no mental math. 100% success rate. Let's see how we did. Part A, what did we get? We got more volunteers. We're starting to build some confidence. We'll start with Mia, Jed Lee, and then Alex. Okay?
D equals -6.
D equals -6.
The correct answer is D is -6. Very good. What about part B? What do we get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We got Caesar, Chanel, Michaela.
112 equals R.
Okay? Okay, so you agree. R equals 112 or 112 equals R. It's the same thing. Give me a thumbs up if you got both of them correct. Put your thumbs down. We got a pretty high success rate. Are there any questions on either of them? Okay, now I have another example, and it is a real-world application, but I am going to sacrifice it because I think it will be more valuable for you to have some time to work independently and with your classmates. So we are going to skip example 3. It is important, but unfortunately I'm going to skip it. And we're going to do classwork on page 93. You're going to do 8 questions. 17, 19, 23, 25, 27, 35, 37, and 39. You've got 8 questions. You've got about 12 minutes or so. Of course, if you're having trouble or something's not making sense to you, please raise your hand and I will come help you. And remember, we are not solving these mentally, although most of them you can solve mentally anyway.
So we can't solve now mentally.
Color pens up and let's see how we did. Number 17 and 19. Number 17, the answer was -17. Number 19, the answer was -29. 23, the answer was 23. Number 25, the answer was -226. Number 27 comes out to 45 degrees Celsius. 35, the solution is 12. 37, the solution is 4. And 39, the solution is 24 centimeters. If you just wrote 24, I will accept it. I'm a bit low on time. I apologize for that. I can answer a couple of quick questions. Rashida and then Isabella. Well, if I give you a question that looks like this, x plus 1 equals 3. Do it mentally. But you should have done all of these questions using the methods that we learned today. Because again, the point is not to be able to necessarily do these questions. The point is to be able to do that question on the page towards the beginning of the lesson that I showed you. And since you're not going to be able to do that one mentally, we need the techniques and the tools to be successful. So let me put it to you this way. Do I think you could do some of the homework questions mentally? Yes. If you turn in a paper of a list of answers, I'm not going to accept it. I'm going to give you 0 points. 0. Because it's a waste of time. You're missing the point. The point is to develop the skills. Okay? Draw a line across your paper. Your homework is page 93. You're going to do 12 through 28 even, 32 to 40 even, and then 46 to 60 even. And then your next test is your quarterly exam, which is a week from today.